Welcome to another Locked On MLB Insider Report. Joining me today is our MLB Insider Gordon Beckham, and we're going to have some instant reaction to Game 2 of the World Series. Gordon, it was another good one, but this time the Astros come out on top. The series is now tied 1-1. Astros won with a final score of 7-2. What did you like about what you saw from the Astros tonight compared to Game 1?
I think the Astros kind of shook off the rust they had in game one, and then they came right back and decided to go up 1-0 in the first inning. Granted, Atlanta answered in the top of the second, but they didn't stop there. They just kept getting runs. And I think that what you saw was the Astros kind of basically picking up the slack from having 3 days off. I mean, nobody really wants to talk about it, but 3 days off in baseball world is a lot. It's a lot to get on the other side of. And for them to come back in game two and look like they did, they look hungry. I mean, they clearly looked like they wanted to answer the bell, answer the call that the Braves basically did in game one. So it's making its way to be a very good series, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
The Braves, on the other hand, didn't look as energetic or as sharp as they have really throughout this postseason. Is that something that you noticed as well?
The thing that stood out to me for the Braves, especially defensively, is how sloppy they were tonight. They didn't look in sync. They didn't look like they were covering bases. I mean, there was a base hit that scored a run, and Swanson didn't even cover third base, almost looking like he had forgotten that he needed to be there. Which is that's his. That's where he's got to be on a base hit to left field. The third baseman is always going to be in there for the cut. Swanson didn't get over there. Now, Rosario didn't have to throw the ball that he did because the guy was going to probably get to third base, but Swanson did not. He kind of shut down. You could tell the way he was rounding, kind of getting towards third base. He shut down mentally and then was like, oh, I got to get to third base. It was too late. Rosario threw the ball away. Another run scores. Later in the game, Ozzie Albies on a double play ball possibly could have saved a run. He botches a throw, and they end up not getting the double play to end the inning. So those are two runs that a 5-2 ball game is a lot different than a 7-2 ball game. And those small things add up. It just didn't look like the Braves were in sync. I mean, they did some uncharacteristic things for them tonight, and I don't know if it was a lapse of judgment or a lapse of just not being ready for the play. But either way, there were some mistakes to be had in the game that definitely made the game out of reach versus still kind of in the balance.
Gordon, both starting pitchers in Jose Urquidy and Max Fried went 5 innings, which is something that's going to be very important, not only as it was to game 2, but as we move forward in this series. So talk a little bit about both of their performances and what going that 5 innings is going to mean for both of these bullpens.
Yeah, Urquidy did a good job of getting 5 innings. He looked great tonight. He kept the Braves off balance. He kept them off the bases. I mean, did a very good job. Max Fried did just as good of a good job having a bad night. And I think a lot of people are gonna be like, "What do you mean? He gave up 6 runs?" It's like, no, he was able to battle through and give up these runs while saving bullpen. So they really didn't. The Braves did not really use anybody that they consider the guy at the end of the game. I mean, Chavez could probably be in the mix for one of those positions, but either way, they didn't use any of their bullpen arms. So they give these guys rest, right? And so that was important. I guarantee you Brian Snitker was thinking about that, and he's probably just telling Max Fried, hey, you got to go out there and give us innings. I don't care if we lose this game 15-1. Somehow find a way to give us innings because we've got to get back to Atlanta and not have our bullpen completely spent tonight. So I would say incredible job by Urquidy. I really think a much better job than Max Fried. But when you look on the deeper on from the surface of it, Max Fried did a really good job to kind of reset that bullpen. So I think Braves fans should feel good about that. But Urquidy and the rest of the guys in the Astros, they just showed up to play, and I mean they showed why they're probably the favorite in this World Series, even after losing Game 1.
Gordon, you mentioned that this series is heading back to Atlanta for game 3, and I'm sure that is exactly what the Braves wanted to do, considering that they are undefeated at home during the postseason. So I'd imagine that you think the Astros are going to have to bring their A game plus some if they want to steal one in Atlanta.
Yeah, the Braves have been rolling at home, right? I mean, I live here in Atlanta. The feeling is palpable in and around Atlanta. You walk around, guys are asking me questions about like what's going on, what are we going to do, and it's kind of interesting because I don't really have I played for the Braves, but I don't really have a horse in this race. So it's interesting. I think that after Game 1, I was like, Braves look really good, but going back to Atlanta, they should feel really good because they've what 5-0 last five they've played in Truist Park. I think that there's an interesting it's just palpable what's going on in the city. I mean, listen, they haven't won a World Series since 1995, and they've always kind of been in the mix. I mean, there's a stretch there. Even when I played for the Braves, they weren't in contention, but now they're kind of in the mix, and so you can just feel people in and around the city of Atlanta just feel like this is our year. It's kind of a weird year to be because there's nobody was saying, hey, the Braves are going to win it. But now they're all of a sudden, they're sneaking around and doing that. But they've got to get past a Houston team that is legitimate, and they're legitimate not only on the mound. Their lineup is so good, and now the Braves don't have the kind of element of surprise. I always think that like when you have that many games off, when you have 3 days off and then you play, so it's almost 4 days since you've played a real live game, it takes a little bit of time. Well, the Astros showed up and answered the bell, and so they're right back where they need to be. Now it's just a regular off day and back playing. So I think that what you're going to see is an Astros team that's going to be tough to beat. I don't know if they'll buck the trend in Atlanta, but it wouldn't shock me if they did.
How exactly do you think the Braves have to respond in this situation?
Same way they've responded all postseason. I mean, just every
Mhm.
time they've gotten hit in the mouth, they basically just come right back and did some hitting of their own. So,
Yeah.
somebody punches them, they're punching right back, and I think that's been the thing. So, what I would key on if you're watching this game, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, especially Friday, is number one, the weather is going to be cold. It's going to be 55 degrees and 15-mile-per-hour winds. Houston's not used to it. The Braves are not used to it. So that's something that's going to play a factor in that game. But also, if you see that the Braves punch back really early, I think that's a really good sign if you're a Braves fan. If you see the Astros go up without a Braves answer real quick, you should be worried moving into Game 4 if you're a Braves fan, because basically the Astros are they're no joke. I mean, they know how to hit.
Yeah.
They know how to go out and compete. They've been here. They have the veteran presence in the playoffs. Been here. They've done that. The Braves are kind of unproven in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of people here in Atlanta I know that feel like they're going to do it.
Gordon, I couldn't help but smile that whole time. I know that you spent some time in Detroit as well, and when you said it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be 55, I was expecting you to say, like, 30 or something, you
Hey,
know?
the wind chill is going to be a real deal. I mean, I'm telling
Alright,
you,
I
it's
know,
supposed to be
15
15
mile
mile
per
per hour
hour,
winds.
yeah.
I remember in 2019, we opened the season and it was 33 degrees. It took nothing away from Chicago, and we'd opened that season. But I'm telling you, this is not that, but it is going
I
to be
believe
cold when
you.
these guys are not used to it.
Oh, I believe you, I believe you. It's funny, and I just remember Miguel Cabrera hitting his first home run this season
In
in
the
the
snow,
snow and all of that. Yeah, yeah,
in the
it's
snow.
great though, but it is definitely gonna be a factor. I totally agree with you there, especially being Houston in Atlanta. You're not used to the
You're
cold
not
weather
used
like
to
that,
it.
but yeah,
They're
you're
not,
not, you're not.
they're not tough like the Tigers and the White Sox.
Yeah.
I know all about that.
Yeah. Let's take a look for the last question, Gordon, at the pitching matchup that we're expecting to see in Game 3. Luis Garcia on the mound for the Astros and Ian Anderson on the mound for the Braves. Who do you like in that matchup?
Garcia's been really good. I feel like he's
Yeah.
just. I watched him in the regular season too. He's got some stuff. He's got great hair.
Mhm.
So does Ian Anderson. Although he looks like Marv from Home Alone. So I don't know who's going to be winning. If it was Christmas, I would say it's definitely going to be the Braves because of Ian Anderson and his look. But listen, at the end of the day, Garcia is really good, and Ian Anderson is too. I think you give the edge to Garcia because of what his stuff is. It's
Mhm.
just better than Ian Anderson's, but Ian Anderson knows how to pitch. So, and it's in his own park. He struggled a little bit when when they played the Dodgers at home the first time, and then he kind of rebounded the second time. So I think that when you're doing that, he's kind of learning from his mistakes. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes out and does. But I think that he'll I think they'll both have good games. I think this will be a low scoring game on Friday, and just one or two things defensively or offensively are going to get this thing done.
It really is shaping up to be a great World Series, Gordon. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me tonight and recap that game, too.
Of course. Great to see you, Daniela.
Yeah, it's great to see you and all of you. There will be more to come later this week as this series heads to Atlanta. And for everything you need to know from both teams, stay tuned to Locked On Astros and Locked On Braves. For all of you, more coming later this week when the series shifts to Atlanta. And for everything you need to know up until then, make sure you stay tuned to Locked On Astros and Locked On Braves. I'm Daniella Bruce. He's Gordon Beckham. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back with more Locked On, your team every day.